This episode is sponsored by Hartwig Blacksmithing.
Hand-forged quality. All of my knives are handmade from premium quality high-carbon steel. Each piece is handmade from start to finish to ensure optimal quality and performance.
Chef knives, hunting knives, everyday carry knives, everything in between. Custom orders available upon request. Go check him out.
HartwigBlacksmithing.com.
You can find him on Instagram at Hartwig Blacksmithing.
And then you end it by saying, cut. With a knife.
And
cold opening.
3, 2, 1, here we go. We are live. Thanks for joining us. To all of our followers out there.
Trav's doing like gang signs right now.
Okay. Cut that.
Yo, welcome back.
Wait, what podcast we doing? To all my boys out there, where you at? Holla back.
Want to give a shout out.
Wait, can I?
Mad rep.
Welcome back to episode 16 of Hold Your Horses.
Holy moly.
My name is Travis Bainbridge. I am joined by my brother-in-laws Thomas Atkins.
Hello there.
And Daniel Atkins.
Travis, we have reached episode 16.
Yep.
We can now cut out the in-law. Thomas and I talked earlier. We agreed. It's brother from here on out. Welcome to the club.
Everyone, I'd like you, if you have champagne in your house or any sort of celebratory drink, I'd like you to get it from your cabinet or fridge and pop that open because
Pop it open.
He is part of the
I've
Hold
been
Your Horses
accepted.
family.
He made it.
Our little filly has joined.
Then the little filly has joined the fold.
a little filly has got its wings.
You are running
is
with
what
the
they
Brombies.
say.
Jim
Again,
Craig style.
I'm Travis, Thomas, Dan, and we are here to talk about idioms, common sayings that we use in just everyday conversation. And we're here to talk about them and go a little deeper. Find the meaning, find the origin.
A story.
Exactly.
The legends.
The history of it. Because history, if we lose it, if we forget it, we are doomed to repeat it.
Mm-hmm. We're also doomed to forget it.
Yep. Then do it again.
If we forget it. That's a great point.
Right.
That's
Happens
Daniel
all the time. Happens all
on
the
the
time.
snare there. And anyways, so have you ever had a difficult... Oh, here it is. Okay.
This is it.
This is what I want everybody to think about for the next 30 seconds. So, you're with a friend, right? You're with a group of friends, and you look over, and your buddy to your right, good buddy, you've been through a lot of stuff together.
We'll call him Steve.
Steve, right? You look over, and Steve is just enjoying the time. He's got a drink in his hand. He's laughing.
God, Steve. Classic Steve,
Classic
am I
Steve.
right?
He's talking to everybody, and then you notice,
So jovial.
You notice that in one of his nostrils, the visible part, there is a booger, and it's just hanging out there.
Oh, no.
Okay, right?
Yep.
And so what do? You're presented with a few options.
Right.
You're like, hey, I'm just going to let Steve enjoy his night and everybody think that he is a slob. And
Which
slowly,
he is, if you guys know
Yeah,
Steve.
no,
Yep.
he is just
Slowly
a real
just-
piece of work.
Disgusting.
distance themselves from him.
Right.
Or I'm going to say, Steve, you got to address this, okay?
Or option three, you do the pick for him and just pull that
Sick.
nugget right out
Sick.
and say, Steve,
Steve,
you owe me
come-
one.
come here.
And then
Come here,
Steve. You're
that
welcome.
is salty.
Some people, oh wow, you went like 5 steps further with that.
There's a lot of steps. You never
Isaac, can you do a hurl sound
Oh
effect?
my gosh. So, or someone might help Steve out. A friend might help Steve out by not directly addressing his booger.
Subtle hints.
Yep.
Subtle hints.
Nuggets.
Which to some people
Yep.
Nuggets.
might
nice.
nuggets. That's good.
Yeah.
Might conjure up
Right.
a saying. They might beat around the bush
Right.
instead of directly
Like,
What would they say?
Hey,
running
Steve,
through
what would they
that
say to
bush.
Steve?
Yeah.
you ever think
Oh,
about
yeah.
any bats hanging in the cave?
Steve, you ever?
Steve, you like
Yeah.
gold panning or gold mining or gold digging?
Is it ever hard to breathe when one of your nostrils is
Steve,
obstructed?
do you know the history
by
of Kleenex Corporation and how they came about?
Right, just different ways.
Because then you might take the hint.
Yeah.
I think beating around the bush too. You don't even have to say anything. It's like could be like Steve,
Yeah.
And just motion.
and kind of the
Dan-
rubbing.
yeah.
What I'm doing right now is I'm
Dan's
taking
putting his
my-
finger in his
my
mouth, in his
finger.
nostril.
I'm
Or you do the
no, I'm
fake,
not.
like-
No, I'm not. I'm running it across
Yeah.
the nostrils.
the fake sneeze. Oh, you got a booger in it. You know, like just kind of quick.
I don't know if
So-
that's beating around the bush.
Yeah,
So
that's more of
yep.
just the obvious, I guess.
So episode 16 is beat around the bush. And it means, again, not being direct.
right.
It means
Not hitting the nail on the head.
That's right. It means dancing around
The
the
bush.
topic.
A drum beat, if you will.
Right.
Could be. It very
Dancing
well
around
could
the
be.
fire like a wild
Yeah,
savage.
yeah.
Travis,
Which
I think
was
I
done
know,
back in the day,
I think
actually.
I know
It
where
was,
this
it was.
comes from, so I'm going to let you take a gander.
I obviously know where it comes from. So yeah,
Right.
Trev, why don't you go
This
tell us what you
This will
think?
be a fun
Say
one.
it like a 5-year-old would want to. Explain it to like a 5-year-old is listening, and just kind of tell us what you think it means.
Well, now that you put it like that.
Have fun with it.
Wait, you know?
Now that you're one of the brothers.
You know?
I feel pretty confident
Okay.
about
All right.
this.
So I, amidst all of the cables and microphones and stands and computer and recorder, I
it's
did
a
not,
lot.
admittedly, get too much time to think about this one.
I understand.
All right.
So this would be Travis.
You got me.
This would be
Okay.
Travis beating around the bush when he could have said, "I
I
am
don't
so
know.
overwhelmed with
Please
the arduous and tedious
help."
task
Yeah.
of."
Using
Well,
my
not setting
brain.
up anything because it's
Yeah.
always just sitting here.
Yeah, well, I'd
But
love to hear
I
your
had
podcast.
I had to boot up. I had to boot up the computer, and then I did something called checking levels. And
Check
after
1,
that,
2, 1, 2,
and
1,
then
2
we were ready to
levels.
go.
We're all at 5.
all right. So,
All right.
5,
Trev,
4, 3.
can you stop beating around the bush and just get to the point here? What do you think it originated from? That's what the users are. The listeners. Sometimes I call them users.
users?
Well, yeah.
Obviously, when this
clear as
came
mud.
to prominence, language, English specifically,
Sure.
was
Yeah.
spoken.
You're right.
It's an English expression.
No. Have you heard of the Bush people?
Oh,
You know-
yeah, that's
Do
actually a
you
good
know where
point.
they're from, Daniel? Because
Bush.
you're way off. Do you know where that comes from?
Isaac, do we need
Those
No, the Bush people,
the people
in
from the bush
Australia.
Yeah,
in
they're in the Australia, the
Yeah.
outback, the
Outback.
deserts.
Oh, I'm excited to hear Tom's definition of this. But Travis first. Why don't we just get through Trav's just quickly here, and then we can get to the kind of the meat.
Bushes
This is
are
the
large
appetizer.
obstacles, okay, on the plain.
They're a plant
It's a plant,
Yeah.
yeah, riparian in nature.
or a president.
Low foliage.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Low foliage. And so again, the meaning of it is not addressing something directly.
Sure, we could
and
say that
head
again
on.
and again and again.
Now, Trev, let's just take it to a personal experience. Let's say we're going on an adventure, me and you. We're
Yeah.
going on a hike.
Yep.
There's a variety of bushes in front of us. There's
Yep.
poison oak.
And I
There's
start
manzanita.
eating
There's
one.
sagebrush.
I start chewing on one,
and I'm
you
like,
say,
Trev,
"What are you doing?"
that's where we want to go. And you kind of keep pushing yourself through the middle of it, the thick of it. And I'm like, why don't we
Beat
why don't
around
we
the
go
bush.
around this? And you're like, oh, that's a good idea.
So that's what you think beating around the bush
So
means?
yeah,
Sure.
I will say though, when beating
not
around the
what it
bush,
means.
I think is definitely negative. I think someone would say you're
Ca-
beating around the
deceiving.
bush.
Kind of
Just
cowardly.
tell me
Weak.
what you want to say.
Yeah, get to the point.
But it doesn't have to be a mean thing. It could be almost trying to save you.
Yeah, just like you were doing
Sort
with
of
the
like
booger.
Booger Boy.
With the Booger
So
Boy,
Booger
Steve. Booger
he's in a
Steve.
big crowd.
He's in
and
a bind. He's
Rather
in a
than
pickle.
walk up and whisper in his ear, and everybody's like, "What's he whispering about?" You're kind of like, "Hey, Steve," you just sort of real casually, like, "Man, I remember when I was a kid, I always would get sick, and my nose is all."
Or
Okay,
my
here it
wife
is, here it
always
is.
does this when someone has something in their teeth. She's the best at
Yeah.
just
Shout out to Courtney
just
Atkins.
kind of
She's
doing
great.
a little thing with her
Exactly.
tongue, showing them, hey,
And
you
I
got
do
something
want
in
to
your
say
teeth.
that I feel like I am the friend to say, hey, man, you got something. Just really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't make a big deal out
Those
of
are
it.
true friends.
Don't
Yeah.
beat around the bush.
I've never said
And
that to
here
you,
it is.
Travis.
What?
What? I've never said that you've had something in your teeth.
Probably because I've never had anything.
There we
in my
go.
teeth.
Let's just hope it's
I think
that
I've
way.
said your face looks really weird.
Well, but that was different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't fix that. I could fix something in my teeth.
Right,
but,
that's true. You can take.
no,
yeah.
I think beating around the bush. Okay, in this scenario, the bush is not desired. Okay,
Correct.
and so instead of just attacking it at the root because you're landscaping your yard or what have you, you're wanting to remove the bush. You're hacking the leaves off. You need to uproot it. Okay, and so don't beat around it. Don't try. Just
get to the heart.
Get to the bottom
the core
of
the matter,
and use a Hartwig blade.
Oh wow.
That'll take that bush down
Yeah,
lickety
you can
split.
go
Real
straight
quick.
to the limbs on that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it is. I think it's about landscaping.
It's a landscaping expression.
Or
Era me.
or
Era me. Era me. That's a new saying we're gonna start using.
Okay.
okay.
Give me the time.
Or agriculture or
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And
Okay.
Dan, to you. Oh wait, Tom.
No,
Let's go
I
Tom.
want to go
No.
landscaping. What are you thinking? Like the colonial hedges? What are you?
That's
What
why
kind
I
of
said
landscape?
Era me.
It's definitely in the West
Okay.
when
California.
Because cowboys, I don't picture them trimming. Like they don't care.
no, but when they get a homestead
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
and it's by their house.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They definitely got to take the bushes out.
Clara, I'm gonna go
Clara
outside
Jean.
and trim them
Clara
hedges.
Jean, I'm gonna trim
Quit
them hedges.
beating around the bush, Benjamin.
Just pull it
Jethro.
out.
Jethro, right?
Pull it out.
No, Benjamin was good.
Lorg would never beat around the bush.
No, he would
I
admire
guarantee
them.
you, Lorg would walk to the bush, grab it by its trunk, and rip it out.
Or pee in it.
I've seen Lorg more of a destroyer of worlds rather than a urinator of bushes.
Sometimes.
You've really watered down Lorg over the last few episodes. I
That's
feel
a
like
good point.
Lorg needs to
He's
be
becoming
resurrected.
more of his
He's
friend.
kind of becoming more like.
Don't make fun of Lord, guys. It's like his little buddy.
Right. Yeah. I don't like where you've taken him. Bring him back.
Lorg was my
So,
creation
Trev,
anyway.
that
That's
was
true.
fun, and I love that you brought this
I
one
tried.
up. And
He
it's
I
went to
tried.
gardening. Okay.
I
the
spent
gardener,
a solid
sure.
12 minutes just.
What I would like to do is I'd like to pull it back a little bit,
Okay.
and in
I'm sorry. When
England
I
or
introduced
the
this,
colonies of
it's
Britain.
hold your horses. Idioms for idiots. So
Including all of us.
Oh, you were doing the idiot part.
yeah.
Okay.
I was
So
playing that
I'll
part.
pull it
Usually
out.
I'm the smart.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Okay. Go ahead.
Usually.
Right.
Colonies. You said.
Oh, I like where you're going already.
So
India.
Britain. No.
India jungle
Rudyard
elephants.
Kipling.
There we go. Keep going. I'm thinking Jungle Book. Go.
Yeah, I know you're thinking Jungle Book. I'm thinking the ancient art of basically flushing the game out of the bush. Okay? So what would happen is the English countryside and the northern European colonies thereof had been tamed for the most part. The wild game was rare. Sherwood Forest. There was limited field and forest and fen for the hunters to go in gaming. You had the king's forest, right? And the people wouldn't go in. Beating around the bush was simply the hired hands on the big hunt going out
With drums.
and basically, yes, scaring the game out of the so-called bush, if you will, driving the game out. They wouldn't go deep into the forest where the game lived. They would draw them out, the source, by beating around the bush. So picture even pheasants or quail, if you will,
Yep.
is a more local context.
What about deer?
Deer,
Yep.
if you want to drive the deer out, you don't need to go to the center of the forest. You scare them out around the peripheral by beating the bush. You can hit the bush and out come the quail.
Okay.
But it originated in England.
Okay.
And this was it mostly related to the big hunt. Think foxes, think the hounds. Beating around the bush is a hunting term. It has nothing to do with landscaping. It is
Or Aborigines?
But please have fun with your little games and the game is afoot, if you will.
I like foot games.
Trev, I can't tell if you're in so much awe that I nailed it so perfectly,
Or-
or if you are confused at what I'm trying to say. Do you have any questions?
I'm confused at your confidence in your answer.
Okay.
That's the dumbest.
Perfect. I'd like you to say it louder because if it's right,
If it's right,
it's
right,
$25.
I'll eat my hat.
Right.
Which
You owe me it.
I'll eat Thomas's hat.
You owe me not one, nay, 2 Hartwig blades. Nay.
Oh my goodness!
Matt,
All
I'll
right,
send
Tom,
you the address. You can send them directly to me.
You're
Travis will send the funds.
You're up.
All right. Yeah, so I'm just thinking Jungle Book. I'm picturing
Rudyard.
Yeah, just the machetes. Just machetes constantly whacking at bamboo, bush, low
Bushwhackers.
Bushwhacking it. Right. They're bushwhacking.
Wow.
Making trails.
Making names.
Making names, taking names, following game. And they're
I got a song
just
all queued up.
And they are beating around the bush, making trails the easiest way to get to their destination. I think it's just kind of
So the bush
obvious.
is too hard, and so they're like, why don't we just beat around the bush? Get there quicker.
Mm-hmm. The edges of
But
the
how
bush.
did it translate into the expression in the bush? The Aboriginals.
No, I just switched from that to the Indian jungles.
The British colonials
Jungle
going
Jungle
to
Book.
India in the Jungle Book.
Yep.
And they were helping blaze trails for probably a railroad of sorts.
Railroad
Like,
or
it'd
just
be a lot easier if we just beat around the bush. Be a lot
hang
easier
on.
if we beat around the bush, eh? No.
Okay, everybody who laughed at me when I said "Oi," and then he just did that.
Oi!
in it.
In it. No,
Yeah.
wait. On the little.
Nah, we gotta go straight through the bush. You think a bit
Hey, we
easier
did
beat
that
around that
for
bush, eh, babe?
7 days.
Yeah.
Why don't we just beat around it?
We can go all the way yonder.
Well, not really.
Smoking. Then you tell me to beat around the bush.
Tell you what we can do. We take this tray and we go.
Okay, now that we've had our
Anyways,
fun little
Now that
rant,
we
you gotta look
our
something
kicks.
up because
Hang on.
Hang on. On the little word teaser card,
What does
it
it say,
says
Talk to me.
to introduce the idiom. I didn't read this. Don't beat around the bush with this answer. Who's your favorite female singer?
Amy Grant.
Okay.
Standard.
Lauren
so anyways,
Dagle.
Nice.
I like her. Great voice. Does it have the origin on the
what
back?
you said? Machetes
Machete.
Machete.
and clearing. So
actual
interesting.
bushes. Actual bushes.
Back to landscaping,
Oh, Lord.
or some version.
Oh,
of
Lord.
It. Oh Lord.
Oh Lord.
And then you said the hunt.
the hunt.
The hunt. The game's
game
afoot.
is afoot.
Okay, so I'm gonna, and then I said, I said something similar.
No,
I
you said landscaping. You said trimming little bushes outside
Trimming
of
the
a
hedges
a
where
prairie
hedges-
house.
Okay, well here we go. So the meaning is avoiding answering directly, to stall, or answer in a roundabout way. I think that we
That's what you were doing
sufficiently-
the first.
Yeah, that's
15
exactly
minutes
what I
of
was.
this. Yeah.
I was doing at the beginning.
You were just
Oh,
you were
I see
trying to
what
give
you're
an
doing.
example.
Okay, so. Oh my gosh!
Yeah. All right, everybody. Earlier in the
Open
episode,
that champagne.
Open that champagne.
Wait a second.
I'm so pleased right now.
Associated with hunting.
Years
Real
ago,
good,
and this is where you'll want to turn up the volume. Years ago.
man. In medieval times, the
Travis,
was
I'd like
more-
you to read
Oh
it.
wait.
I'd like
I'm
you to
reading
read
from
it.
the
Okay,
card.
Read it,
Okay.
please.
Years ago, hunters hired special people, that's weird, to beat around the bushes with sticks in order to drive birds or rabbits or other animals out into the open so the hunters could get a better shot at them. And to that I say, phooey. Because if you're beating around a densely populated thicket, they're just going to go deeper in. And these special people
I'm curious
will
about-
have to go...
Like they had to know how to hit the bush.
They were very good at bush hitting.
This answer is incorrect, and I am tearing up this card.
They
Thanks a
have-
lot, Mary
Here's
Lou.
what mine says.
No, I'm kidding.
They
Anyways,
avoided hitting the bushes directly because this could sometimes prove dangerous. Whacking a bee's nest, for example,
Oh my God.
would put a swift and unwelcome end to the hunt. That's the dumbest. But I know that I'm right.
Oh wait, so
and I feel
Tom,
like
what'd
the
you look
reason
up?
I'm right is because as a former world history teacher, I feel like it during my time as a teacher, I remember stumbling across. I have a memory of reading either a book.
You said Robin Hood, right?
I think Robin Hood.
You guys just say Sherwood Forest all the time.
Have you guys seen the book? There's a book series. If you haven't read it, and I'd like to be sponsored by Lawhead is the author. If you're out there listening, Lawhead, and I know you are, your books are fantastic, and they should be made into movies because the last Robin Hood movies were garbage.
Wait, did you see the last one?
No.
Did everyone involved? Okay,
Russell
Jamie
Crowe?
Foxx and
What?
Taron.
No. There was another one. Absolute nightmare.
Wow.
Crows was okay, but the end where they're riding on ponies. Trust me, I love ponies as much as the other because we have a show.
We actually love
about
ponies
them.
here. All ponies are welcome.
We love all the ponies, but the Kevin Costner's was good, but honestly, the cartoon is.
What about
is
Princess of Thieves, Keira Knightley? Back to the feminism.
Princess? What did you? What?
Wow, did
it was an old Disney.
Okay.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, not Princess of Thieves.
There was another one.
There was a Princess of Thieves.
It was great.
Anyway, long story short,
Keira Knightley, if you're listening,
possibly in one of Lawhead's books, somewhere in my journey of teaching world history, I learned. I feel like I vaguely recall the beating of the bush to drive the prey out.
Okay, that's
right, because it is
well done. Hats off to you, Dan.
In medieval times,
$10.
hunters hired men to beat the area around bushes with sticks.
Bush beaters.
In order to flush out game, taking cover underneath. Yeah.
Well, it kills me to do this, but
hats off to you.
Hats off. Handshake.
It's about time I got one. I bet you if we went back, I haven't gotten one yet.
Yeah, not like off the cuff.
I don't think you have.
Yeah, but I do now.
Legendary.
Ooh,
okay, great.
A new one.
What you got there,
mustard. Tom? We might want to. That just kind of came up.
What is it?
Cut the mustard.
Never.
I haven't heard of that, but what I have heard is put a little more mustard on it.
I've heard of cut the cheese.
But haven't you heard put a little more mustard on it?
Or how about this one? I knew you.
I say that to my.
Give a little more mustard.
I knew
my hot dog
before
man
you were when you were squirting mustard.
That's when you step on a crawdad.
No, that's when you were a baby.
Oh, because of the meconium.
Because of the way your poop looked. Wow. Meconium? That's what it's called?
Black. Sorry, that's the tar.
That's the tar.
That's the black stuff.
That's tar, baby.
That's really early. Yeah, that's when you were like, man, I knew you when you were.
I knew you when you were squirting tar out of your the old tar shooter.
Man.
Used to call you Tar Heel.
I hope we don't lose a bunch
Trev,
of
do you want to end this episode with something more appropriate?
I want to say thank you again for listening.
But how do you want to honor me?
Oh, well, Dan has will walk away with a grand total of $15 tonight. The $5 that he put up, the $5 that we put up. I will
take my $5 back.
And he
and a Hartwig blade, I believe.
And a Hartwig blade.
Isn't that what was on the line?
And he will
Hartwig
take what
blade.
is rightfully owed to him because he did well with that.
He did well remembering something he already knew.
Here's
no. Here's
and what is disqualified at this point.
Here's how this works. Rather than beat around the bush, I dove into the bushes. Army crawling. Through
the thicket,
sweat, thicket, manzanita bush, limb breaking, scraping. Many of the hikes I've been on with Thomas, very similar experience, where it's the mine is just on the other side of the hill. If we could just army crawl, face in the dirt for an hour and a half, we'd get to the source rather than beat around the bush, which would have taken longer. But saved us a lot of grief. Here I am.
We talked about psychoanalysis in the previous episode.
We did.
And I almost wonder if we should get into that a little bit now.
I feel like we could probably turn this into
I feel like you guys have some chips on your shoulders the way you're talking about past experiences.
On your shoulders.
If any of you out there listening have been on a hike with my brother, we know, Travis and I, that you do carry chips on your shoulders.
I want you to leave a quick comment in the Instagram post
leave a comment.
For episode 16.
What adventure has Thomas taken you on where he didn't tell you the truth of where you were going or what you were doing?
He lied to you.
He beat around the bush. What kind of hike is it? Oh, it'll be great. Where are we going? Oh, a few ridges.
Yep.
Will it be dangerous? Probably not.
Here's what I will say. At the end of it, you were probably looking at a spectacular scene.
There it is.
But
it's always worth the wait.
Exactly. Your limbs were broken.
Sun is
and your
dying
shins
in the
were
sky.
scraped. And you're out of food and out of water.
Yeah, I'd love to see those comments, even if it's just an emoji, just something else.
Shout out, if you will.
A little yellow face would be great.
Travis, how many listeners are we up to? I mean, we joke a lot about it's just our moms listening, but we're at, what, 20, 25,000?
I would say at least
25,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just going to round it up. I
Round
don't want
it
to
up.
beat around the bush. I'd like to go right
Let's
to the
round
core.
up from 100 and...
Yeah.
I would
So,
say
if you're at
25,000 minus 24,860.
Okay.
Then that would be a better.
So what I was doing was beating
answer.
around the bush a little bit. You
I went directly
didn't.
through the
What is
bush.
an idiom that cuts right to the core?
Ooh, right to...
Is that a jar of
Gets
marbles
to the
up
kind
there,
of
Tom?
meat of things.
That is.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. We're going to close this. You
We're
have a
gonna
wonderful
close this
evening or morning or afternoon.
with a moment of
Head
silence.
off to work just with some
For
joy in
Dan's
your heart,
victory.
knowing
That Dan has won one.
The flag that I typically wave, you could just wave an American flag,
Unless you don't live in the United States, of
which
course.
many of our listeners don't. They live in the bush.
If you've created a flag,
12
send
of our
us.
listeners live deep in the outback of Australia by satellite. Thank you, Elon Musk, for your little
contribution.
What is this Starlink called?
That's exactly
Starlink.
what
That
it's
most of
called.
our listeners are on Starlink. Deep,
Doesn't make any
deep
sense
in the
at all.
hinterlands. All right.
Over and out. Let's ride.
Let's
Let's
ride.
ride. Yeah.